Now at ticketsforless.com.
All right, I think we have we've re-racked things as far as the old stream is concerned.
So I do believe we are back.
If you're with us on YouTube, thanks. If you're with us at 1620thezone.com or zonetv.live, thanks. We should be good to go. Thank you to Nick Grimm for doing some troubleshooting and getting us back up and running.
Got inside of the matrix and fixed it from
in
within.
the computer. Way to go. What's up? It's Nick, who is apparently Nick Grimm, because we know because he has that wrench by his name.
Inside baseball.
Welcome back, everybody. Everybody's here, and we're all excited. All right, Jimmy's got the odd news today. Is this your first foray into the odd news, my friend?
No, I think I've done it once before.
All right.
It's been a while.
Maybe it's been a while. We get back on that bike.
Yes.
So Josh has laid out some stories for you. What do we have today?
Oh, it's this segment. Oh, for some reason I thought it was at 12. Then I forgot the intro. I am sorry.
Well, we can hit it, I suppose, still.
I suppose, yeah.
If I could find it.
Oh, there we go.
By the way, Josh sent me these stories this morning, and he labeled it as "in case I'm not back yet," which I'm assuming I won't be. Josh, you got that right.
Yeah.
You got that right. I don't know where. I did see a picture that Josh, damn it, from the stadium. Looks like the It sounds like the field,
It's pretty.
the field, like the design as far as how the grass looks in the outfield this year. Sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting. Maybe a little 75th anniversary logo out there.
Roof will be open.
Last year they had a whole bunch of different stuff. They've really had some fun with the outfield art over the last couple of years. Yeah, the roof is open. Although we might be asking for a roof about Wednesday of next week.
Yeah. And who knows? They might even paint the NBA Finals logo on the field as well, just so every angle's covered.
ESPN comes in and is like, "Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put the Larry O'Brien Trophy right on top of second base.
Stick with me. Stick with Coach Van Horn."
It's a good idea. All right, Jimmy. What do we got
Here's the
today?
odd news. Hopefully, I do it a good service. Jazz Chisholm Jr. missed throw during mic'd up Sunday Night Baseball interview. In quotes, says, "Damn it."
Yeah.
This gave in-game interview critics more ammunition. A lot of people say we don't need those. I being one of them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You're out on the mic'd up stuff.
We do not. I mean,
this is fascinating.
In-game, no. Now, do I enjoy the conversation in general? Yes. So maybe there's something they can do. But
so my thing is with like Sunday Night Baseball in general it's just tough because
I get why they do it. Don't get me wrong.
You have you got the guys coming in and they're kind of like parachuting in on the week a little bit and all that stuff.
So are you guys good?
And right, so it's like I can't fully get behind all of the things that ESPN does from a baseball telecast standpoint, but I generally like the mic'd up stuff.
Okay.
I generally like the mic'd up stuff. Now I don't know that I've seen it very many times. I guess Freddie Freeman has probably done it a few times at first base. I can't recall too many times where they have it with an infielder. They usually, like, hey, take this. You're playing outfield. Like, if you want to go run and catch, like, it's not going to be a big deal to you if you have to run and go catch one or chase one down the line or something like that. But an infielder's kind of got a lot that they're worried about, especially if there's runners on base. They're still having the conversation while it's going on. And yes, while they were asking a question to Jazz Chisholm
during Sunday Night Baseball last night.
During Sunday Night Baseball against the Red Sox, he had to go to his left, make a play, spun through, and then threw off and said, "Damn it!" And he's like, "Okay, that's all right. I'll get him next time." Like, one of those type of things. It's not a gigantic deal.
People that get offended.
Yeah.
They're just words.
Yeah.
Even if he drops off an F word. Shaq did that the last weekend.
Oh, people are cussing all the time on TV now.
Kids like their bad words. It's been scientifically proven.
To be clear, we are not cussing on the radio, for the record.
Well, we're not.
But people are definitely cussing on television.
No, this is a family program.
I like the mic'd up stuff usually if it's insightful. If you have a person who is willing to have fun with it.
People have Jazz's back on this.
And if you have the technology right too, like I've watched some in spring training that are just like the guy's talking to him, but it's 15 seconds later. And I'm like, okay, this is a disaster. We don't need to be forcing this. So I'm supportive of this, even though it may have cost Jazz Chisholm an arrow. And
now when they do this in,
I like
say, the
Jazz
All-Star game, it's okay.
That's
like
true.
That. Come on, it's All-Star game.
That's a much better time for it. I don't know. I can't recall any during the playoffs. But that feels like it might be next.
Tony La Russa? Yeah. Hello. Oh. Never mind.
All right. What else?
All right. Next story. This is a good one. Walmart customer calls cops on himself after self-checkout avocado mishap. There's a lot going on here.
Sure.
On the internet site Reddit, a post reveals that a customer accused the store of robbing him after his own input mistake. So what happened? First of all, where was this? Let's get this right.
Yeah.
A Walmart employee claimed a customer called the police after the customer, accidentally overcharged himself for avocados at the self-checkout kiosk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. The unusual incident was documented on a Reddit page dedicated to all things Walmart. They're doing the Lord's work. User Lore Activist, not to be confused with Pole Assassin, wrote about the confrontation, prompting others to share their own odd self-checkout interactions. As Lore Activist told the story, a man came up with a bunch of stuff and claimed an item on the shelf that was priced at $9.99 was showing up on the register at $19.99. Happens to all of us. The Reddit writer said a Walmart team leader was able to get it fixed for the man. Fantastic. However, it happened again with item after item that couldn't be changed. Then he had avocados, the man wrote. I guess he accidentally hit 999 avocados instead of the 9 he intended. That makes a lot of guac. Lore activist almost called him pole assassin.
Yeah.
I guess he accidentally hit 999 avocados. His total jumped up to over $1,300. That's when the customer freaked out and started yelling before stating that he was calling the cops because Walmart was robbing him.
Well, he hadn't paid anything yet.
No.
Calm down.
So really, no one's been robbed yet.
No.
The customer called the phone number 911, and the police showed up, as the thread documented. This dude creates a whole circus, then shows everyone the self-checkout screen again, claiming Walmart is robbing him. Walmart employees worked to try to appease the customer, but he still wouldn't shut up, the man wrote. The customer was warned that he needed to leave or would be arrested for trespassing, but the man, of course, refused to go unless Walmart compensated him for pain and suffering and distress. He had not lost any money yet. Eventually, his own cops that he called put him in handcuffs and took him outside.
No kidding. So
that's fantastic.
I would imagine that the grocery stores lose quite a significant chunk of money every, if you add it up month by month, week by week, year by year, on people who say that they weigh their stuff out and it's not that, or they try to skip the register entirely. I would imagine the self-checkout stuff has probably cost them more money than, just paying employees. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So if one guy says he only buys, which by the way, you buy 9 avocados. I mean, that's a lot of avocados.
Yeah.
But instead he gets charged for 999 avocados. That's the grocery store's way of getting back. Unfortunately, it was carried out on this lovely Reddit user, and he had a scene. He made a scene about it.
He got upset.
I would certainly not pay for 999 avocados, nor did this person, it sounded like. He was not successfully robbed by the grocery store.
It actually reminds me of the family classic, Falling Down, with Michael Douglas. Families usually gather around the holidays and watch that, about what happens when a regular guy has gone too far. Finally, he was playing disc golf, then a tiny hammerhead shark fell from the sky. Let's go to Vern at 16. A Myrtle Beach resident gets his own nature show moment. Oh, we like that when you're playing the golf ball. Actually, he was there to play disc golf out in Myrtle Beach. So nice. On hole 11.
The Chanticleers.
Oh, he looks up and he saw an osprey carrying something in its claws. And that's when things got weird, because that wasn't weird enough. It's not uncommon to see an osprey carrying something, but you take note because it's still really cool to see. True, we do like seeing animals eat other animals.
No doubt.
Yeah, and as he watched 2 crows, I wonder if they were black crows, suddenly showed up and started pursuing the osprey, and within seconds, the 3 birds took their tussle into a nearby tree. Think Bull's Pistons back in the day. That's when the osprey lost his lunch and something crashed to the ground. He goes, I thought it would be a random fish. Technically, he was right. It was a small dead hammerhead shark that lay on the ground. Yes. It is not common for ospreys to catch sharks, although this one did. So shout out to that osprey for its catch.
Nice.
However, the water-loving raptors are expert and opportunistic anglers. I can't wait for them to have a show on the Sunshine
What
Network.
if you were disc golfing and then a hammerhead shark fell from the sky?
Yeah.
That's what this man had to endure.
So take a look. It's in a book.
I'd be pretty surprised. The Reading Rainbow did not prepare me for that.
Oh, and therein lies the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Really needed to prepare you for more on on that show. Wow. First of all, like you said, Jimmy, actually, let's go back.
There's a lot.
I love your in-sentence commentary. I'm all the way in on that.
No, thank you.
Second thing is, great shout out by you of shouting out the osprey for catching the hammerhead shark.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole hilarity of the situation where, hey, guy's just randomly playing. He's tickling chains out in the field.
Ah, yes, tickling chains.
And then all of a sudden, a small hammerhead shark gets dropped upon him.
How about that?
I'd be very confused.
Well, the friends left the fallen hammerhead under the tree in case the osprey came back. You've seen those Limu commercials. You do not want to make one of those angry. Later, when the guy posted
probably dead, right?
Well, should be, but you never know. Yeah. I've seen Pet Cemetery. Later, when this dude posted photos of the incident on the Facebook, many grandparents commented, because that's usually what happens over on that site nowadays.
100%.
Yeah, another disc golfer commented that he had found the shark under a tree. They were standing there in shock with no frame of reference for what could have possibly happened. But then they saw the post and said, thank goodness, because how do you explain a random hammerhead in the woods? And in the comments, Grandpa commented, well, they said that global warming is causing this.
They definitely did. I would
Is that Elon?
if I came across just a, like, it was in the woods playing Frolf for some godforsaken reason, and I just came across a dead hammerhead, I would probably think that it was some sort of toy, and I would try to pick it up, and I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
and then I
Look, I got you guys a gift. I
Then I
didn't even
would-
have to go to Albert's for
I
this.
would find out that it's real, and then probably immediately do exactly what this person did, which is put it back down and go away because something horrible has happened. Wow, great find, great catch by the Osprey.
Great stories. Great job by Josh Hotson.
Excellent job. Couple poll questions that we'll get up during the break here. One from the 402. Do you like the mic'd up stuff? And Chris writes in, poll question, have you ever had to worry about hammerhead sharks falling from the sky while tickling chains? We'll get both of those up coming up at Happer Show on Twitter. Thank you, Jimmy, for the odd news. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, once again, coming up in about 20 minutes or so here, we'll talk with new Creighton baseball head coach Mark Kingston coming up. That's at 12:30 right here on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. I'm so excited to chat with him after a good run in the postseason and, falling short to probably the team that's going to win the national championship. That'd be my guess anyway at this point. So we'll do that here in just a little while. I do want to talk about the brewing baseball culture war that we have coming up. But first, very classic NCAA courts, all of these things, when the House settlement, which we've been talking about for months and months and months, and I don't know, years, I guess, potentially at this point, and preparing for actually getting, signed and put through for weeks. I mean, the original date, I think, where everybody thought that it was going to, where everything was going to click and be different for college athletics was like May 8th or May 9th or something like that. And then they pushed it a couple weeks. They're like, hey, we don't like this. We're haggling on the roster limits and the grandfathering clause and situations like that. And then we kind of forgot about it for a little while, all the way until Friday night. It was almost, I believe it was almost 11 o'clock when Judge Claudia Wilkin came through and she was like, yep, so it be. It is done.
That's quite the news dump.
It was. But usually
news dumps are before 5.
Well, and Jimmy, right? Like usually news dumps are things that you are trying to hide or get caught up in the rest of the news cycle. I mean, I don't know why that would be the case in this particular situation, but the law goes on the law's time. And now we officially have it. Some of it effective July 1st and some of it effective now, the NIL clearinghouse stuff, and changing roster limits, scholarships. I believe the major power conference commissioners today all got together and did a weird Zoom call where they basically said, hey, it's going to be up to the schools, which we knew, on how much they are going to fund. Basically, we have this total of $20.5 million that you can pay your student athletes. It's at your choosing. It's based on the revenue. At most schools, it'll be based on the revenue that they bring in for their universities. And now what I'm most excited about, because there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of what if, to that point. There could have been a school that has said over the last however many months, like, yeah, we're going to baseball, for example, or volleyball, for example, is a sport that we care about deeply and we want to be really good at. And so we are going to fund it that way. We are going to, yes, obviously have the fully funded scholarships at the in those individual sports, but also we are going to pay our athletes some of the money from the revenue sharing situation as well. And because out of the idea that we want to be really competitive in that sport, competitive with our peers, and more so than that. You could say that over the last several months in preparation for the revenue sharing to come through. But now the rubber is meeting the road, as we said before. It's actually happening. And so what I'm excited to find out from these schools, and maybe it's not readily apparent, maybe we don't, there are, Troy Dannon mentioned this several weeks ago, but there are certain rules that they can hide behind and they don't have to necessarily publicize or make public who's making what as far as the student athletes are concerned. But you're going to be able to find out, and it'll be used in recruiting as well. How much are you funding? If you're a football school, how much are you funding your sports that aren't football? Right? What happens? I know a lot of one of the major questions that I've seen from a lot of people is, okay, if schools are going to put most of this $20.5 million into, and by the way, the scholarships that come along with these roster limits, we're talking about 35 scholarships for baseball, maximum roster limits, but also scholarship. That comes out of the $20.5 million. So we're talking about, a finite amount of money here that you actually have to funnel directly to the athletes in the form of payment. But for example, we got a football school. How much money, like Nebraska, for instance, how much money are you going to spend out of the allotment that you have? Yes, to make sure that you remain competitive with your peers in that sport, but also for the sports that you have your fan base has come to really enjoy, love, and support, and be really competitive at. Volleyball comes to mind first. The revenue generating sports are football and men's basketball, and to a lesser degree men's basketball. And there won't be a significant change for men's basketball at the high major level, simply because the scholarship limits don't change a whole lot. But obviously there's changes as far as the direct payments are concerned. But how much will schools like Nebraska or Texas or UCLA or whatever it might be, how much will they fund those other sports? You could say it. You could say, hey, we want to be competitive in every single area. Okay. But then the money that you put into it is going to be really important. So, for example, I mean, we'll talk to Coach Kingston a little bit, and maybe we'll ask him something about this, but the idea of college baseball, right? So the roster limit was previously at 40. You can have as many players as you want, and you had 11.7 scholarships that you could use and divide up amongst, whoever you need to. Now your roster numbers come down to 35. That's why you're seeing a lot of guys who really haven't played or whatever in the transfer portal. A lot of teams are going to have to make cuts as you sort of go along, and there's the grandfathering rule that goes into this as well. But your scholarships can be as much as 35. How many SEC schools, even though you say and you win national championships and you do all those things in baseball, but you have to be competitive in football first, how much will be left for a non-revenue generating sport like baseball? Is there going to be an SEC school that says we're going to fund 35 baseball scholarships? That's a big chunk of change. It's gigantic. So what will be the maximum? And what will it be like for schools that don't have football? So it's going to be fascinating to see this first sort of plunge into this and who does what, who cares about what. And that's honestly, I think, the most exciting part about all of it. You get to kind of see it all play out in front of our eyes in the new revenue sharing world. But I love how that news was broken to us on Friday night at like 10:30. It's like, oh, okay, I guess it's here. College sports have undergone a lot of changes over, since we've been paying attention to them, since we've been alive. This one in particular is ground shifting, and there's only been a couple of like ground shifting quote unquote moments. This also includes the almost $3 billion in back pay to former student athletes of revenue generating sports and things like that the NCAA now has to contend with, of course, as well. It does a lot to undercut, obviously, the NCAA. And one of the quotes that I saw floating around today was the idea that it does not kill amateurism in sports. It probably doesn't kill amateurism in the non-revenue generating sports, but it kind of does in football. And it probably does a little bit in men's basketball as well. It will never feel the same. The schools have the ability to pay the student athletes now. That is the exact antithesis of amateurism at this point. So I can't wait to see how this whole thing plays out. And I'm glad that there's at least some resolution now, right? I know the athletic directors and people who are in power positions, administrators, and universities all across the country, they've been preparing for this for a long time, but you don't know until you know. And so now you know. And now you have to make a lot of very, very interesting decisions starting right away on what your school prioritizes and what it's going to look like going forward. I got a text here asking about how many scholarships are available for soccer. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sure the number is floating out there somewhere, but I don't have it readily available for you. But I could find it here during the break. And then Jeff writes in, he says, sucks as a basketball fan when a school like Creighton can find their team with everything. Oh, so fund their team with everything. No, I think people got the wrong idea about that stuff, man. Like, I know that's the narrative out there about Big East basketball. And like, I think to a certain extent, it is a great thing for that conference that they can prioritize its basketball school, the basketball programs, because it's a basketball conference. They don't have to worry about the football. But most, all, I would say, of those schools in the Big East are not dealing with the $20.5 million across their athletic department. They just treat their basketball teams kind of like their football teams, but they're dealing with a lot less money. It's a lot less, it's a lot smaller of a scale from what they can fund to their athletic departments because they have smaller TV deals. I mean, we went through some of the Big East numbers last week. So I don't know, like I've seen that out there and I've seen people talking about that. And obviously what you prioritize is such a significant part of this thing, but man, it's, I don't know. It doesn't like all of a sudden tilt the scales in the favor of Big East basketball so significantly that they're going to start, ripping off national championships and stuff like that. Like I said for baseball earlier, there is this, like, we oftentimes talk about how in football it's an uneven playing field, and in basketball it's an uneven playing field. In baseball specifically, now that their championship is coming up and it's in Omaha this week, it's an uneven playing field, and it certainly looks like it from the outside. I saw it firsthand. We all saw it firsthand. When Nebraska goes to a place like North Carolina or when Creighton goes to a place like Arkansas, you look around, you're like, so they have a bunch of All-American, like, draft type guys in their starting lineup, and it's not just that they're great players, it's that most of them are transfers. Their first round lefty pitcher who was yelling obscenities at Tennessee this weekend, he transferred from ECU. They have multiple, their National Player of the Year candidate, their shortstop, Vahiva Aloy, he transferred in. So there's, that's Cam Kojal transferred, right? A guy that you're going to be hearing a lot about this week as Omaha's own, who hits in the middle of Arkansas's lineup. Like, those guys are transfers. And so how do they end up at Arkansas? Yeah, of course they want a great experience and a baseball playing experience. They can get it, but also they're going to get a little bit of money on the side because it's funded that way as well. But so it might look like from the outside that the scales are tipped in the favor of those schools, and no doubt on a general sense it is, but you have to contend with them in the postseason still. And that is the great equalizer in sports like basketball and baseball. Anything could happen in those postseasons. We just saw it in baseball. We're going to end up with just a couple national seeds in the Final Eight in Omaha. The number 1 seed is gone before the Super Regional. The number 2 seed is gone before the Super Regional, right? So, and the number 3 seed is here. But just a couple of the national seeds are going to be in this College World Series. And so you're like, how did that happen? I thought the scales were tipped in their favor. Postseason baseball, getting a large sample size sport down to 1 game or 2 games is always going to produce some wacky results. And it's the same thing in basketball. Yes, the scales might be tipped in the big school's favor, but there's still always going to be the Oral Roberts, and there's still going to be the whoever comes out of the, maybe it's Omaha one day, somebody who comes out of the Summit League and rips off a win or 2 because they were in the right place at the right time and ends up in the Sweet 16. You're like, I thought this was a sport I thought college sports were made for the schools who were paying all the money and had all the fantastic facilities and all that stuff. They still have to play those games. So I think that's something to really remember, specifically when it comes down to postseason basketball and postseason baseball. Football, that's a little bit of a different story. But everybody who plays football, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC, at that competitive level and has aspirations to win games, they have to fund the whole thing entirely. And so then you're talking about this whole world on the outside of, okay, well, what do you have in terms of facilities? What do you have in terms of support and things like that? Like, I don't think the scales change that much from the football standpoint. I don't. And you don't have to deal with the unknown of the football playoff because the whole regular season, it's a small sample size sport. The whole regular season kind of is that way already. And so when you get into the postseason, all these teams are they're used to playing for their lives already. And then you get into the postseason, it's like, oh, that's kind of overwhelming. And the best teams kind of end up winning. Ohio State, they had a little bit more wiggle room this year. They had some more margin for error because of what they didn't do in the regular season, including beat Michigan yet again. But they had some more wiggle room. We're the best team in the country, got to the national championship game and won it, right? That's kind of how it works from a football perspective. So I can't wait to see, what the athletic departments sort of prioritize and how it changes the college sports landscapes in terms of who actually wins when the games get on the field from that point of view. All right, let's take a quick break here. We have a very special guest joining our show coming up next. Mark Kingston is the new Creighton baseball coach. He was kind of I think he will be introduced formally to like the media later on this afternoon, but we're going to get him in front of that, which is exciting for us. Just the 11th head coach in Creighton baseball history. It's been one way for a very, very long time. So I can't wait to talk to Coach and see exactly what he learned from being on staff this year and some of the observations from that, and then what this thing is going to look like going forward. And yes, we will get into some of the conversations that we were just having about the NCAA and the House and all of those other things. So can't wait to talk to Coach Kingston. We'll do that when we return. Coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. We're the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Jimmy Chavez sitting in for Josh Odson today. Still not back, by the way, but we'll get around to that. We're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline by new Creighton baseball coach Mark Kingston. Coach, what's going on?
Connor, how you doing?
I'm good. How's the I've missed you. It's been a whole week now since we haven't seen each other, and then we spent like the entire month before that together.
I know it. Well, I can have that effect on people, so I appreciate you saying that publicly. No, it's been good. As you might imagine, the end of the season was such a whirlwind for all of us, winning so much, and then before you know it, you're having to say your goodbyes to players and coaches and administrators, and it's just you go on that journey, and you were on that journey for a great amount of it late in that season, and you saw how close that team was. So the bittersweet part is that part is over. A lot of great players we're going to miss. But as soon as the season was over, now you're working on recruiting and transfer portal and the future. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of challenges, but all good as far as we're concerned.
What's the feedback been like from the players that are, gonna lace it back up next year? Or I mean, I assume there's a lot of excitement going forward and looking ahead to what things are going to be like now.
Yeah, there sure is. Again, Creighton has always been such a great opportunity for coaches, for players, and we hope to only make that better as we move into the future. The players are very excited. We've got a lot of great ones coming back. Obviously the draft has to happen, and we'll have guys that are being looked at in the draft, but I think the great majority of our players that have eligibility left will be back and looking to run it back and do what we did this year and hope that we can do even better. So a lot of excitement among the players, and we all can't wait to keep this thing going.
So when you think about the lessons learned from this year, I mean, when it comes to whether getting to the NCAA tournament, I mean, there was just the one Big East team that made the field, or how you get there, or how to win games in the NCAA tournament. You're no stranger to that idea. Like when you think about this past year, what were the lessons learned? What are the big takeaways from being in that dugout or experiencing baseball in the Midwest again or in the Big East? Like, what do you think of the first couple things at the top of your head?
Well, I would say that the first thing is a little bit of disappointment in the fact that the Big East only got one team in. I thought, as well as a lot of people thought, that Xavier and UConn deserved to be in as well. And they kind of followed the blueprint for how the NCAA tells Midwest teams to get to the NCAA tournament as an at-large. They played good schedules. They won a lot of games. UConn got to the finals of the tournament against us. They were co-champs in the regular season, went down and played Miami. So they did all the things that we are all told to do to make the tournament as an at-large, and they still didn't get it. So that part's a little bit disappointing. Now, I think from our standpoint, we're going to hope that is just an aberration, because we have had multiple teams in the past get in, and hopefully that will be the case moving forward. But it's really good baseball up here. There's pro prospects. There's good coaches. The Midwest has a lot of great baseball to offer nationally. So what I learned this year was just a reminder that you get really good athletes up here, you can really have an impact on their development and coaching them and their mindsets. And that part I have really loved getting a taste of that again.
You have described in the past, just to go back a little bit, your path to becoming, showing up at Creighton, getting to Creighton, and then now becoming the head man as like divine intervention. Like, take people back through that process a little bit of the whirlwind of early last summer, going through that process, then an entire year of how it was, and now getting to this point. Like it still seems, sort of, I don't know, lucky, random that you and Creighton ended up being a pretty good marriage here.
Well, I do believe in divine intervention. I am a person of faith, very strong faith, and I just think these things do happen for a reason. I do think God's plan is real, and I think that it was time for us to move from where we were in South Carolina to here. And you see every now and then, you see little signs along the way that might be a higher power saying, hey, check this out. Don't miss this little clue we're sending you. And the first time I got contacted by Marcus Blossom and Creighton and Mike Odom was as my alma mater, North Carolina, last summer, literally got the last out to come to the College World Series. And they just happened to beat West Virginia in that super regional. And that was where Marcus Blossom had gotten, I think, his master's degree, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, this is very interesting. The school I went to Omaha with, I just got contacted by the school in Omaha. This might be something. And so obviously you never jump to any conclusions, but we investigated it. We looked into it. And when I came here on a visit, it was during the World Series last year, and happened to go over to the Embassy Suites downtown. And lo and behold, North Carolina was staying in the exact same hotel that we stayed in way back when I was a player at North Carolina, and we came to the College World Series. So you just started to see some things that said, you know what, there might be something going on here. And so, long story short, got the job. Have been here for just over a year, just under a year, I guess it is, and feel very comfortable here and very excited about the future.
This is, I think, a great opportunity for you to talk about your staff, Billy Mullen and Mike Curran, who have joined you and were with you throughout this season. You have raved about those guys. The track record is really, really good. I guess tell us about them and the things that they bring to your program and they already have so far in just a year's time.
Well, I believe stability is so important in a coaching staff, and I recruited Billy way back in 2001 to come play for us at Tulane. And so we've been together almost every year, except when he was a head coach at USF since the summer of 2001. I think he's, if not the best pitching coach in the country, he's in the conversation. I would trust my kids with him, and he's a great pitching coach, great person, great personality, and just everything that you'd ever want as a pitching coach in a program. And I hope I never have to coach another game without him as our pitching coach. And then Mike Curran, when I got to Illinois State, Mike Curran was on staff. And generally, when a head coach takes over a new program, you kind of think that you'll bring in your own people.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a year there to get to know Mike, and he's about as intelligent and diligent and organized as anybody that I have ever worked with. He has a passion for the game. He knows the game in and out. He has a much better handle on the analytics and the data and all those things. So, as a coach, you want to have assistants with you that are good in the areas that maybe if you're getting a little older, that is new and can really help you with. So, and again, I trust Mike Curran with my kids. So, just couldn't be more happy that they're here with us. I think the impact they made on our guys this year was pretty obvious in all the improvements we made. Billy had this pitching staff with the 12th best ERA in the country, and the number of runs we scored, I think this year was the most in 20 years. So these guys are studs, and we're so lucky to have them.
Knowing the ballpark, and then, like you said, the lessons that were learned from the competition that you're going to be playing in the Big East. Is there if you could define it, is there like a style that you want to have as you take this thing over?
Well, I've always been a coach that wanted to have a great balance of speed and power. And in the SEC for the last 7 years, that leaned more towards power because you play in small ballparks, as you saw firsthand, that you could hit a fly ball 93 miles an hour, exit velocity, and it carries out of the ballpark easily. There's a lot of ballparks like that up there. So over the years, we had to kind of evolve with a higher ratio of power, more so than speed. But in Charles Schwab, I think we can get closer to 50-50, if not lean more towards maybe the speed component, because speed helps you on defense in that park. It helps you on offense in that park. So I think you'll probably see, ideally for us, a bunch of athletic position players. And if we have to lean towards power or speed and contact, we probably would be wise to lean towards speed and contact. But that being said, we still want guys hitting the ball out of the ballpark. And it's still a specialty of ours to really help guys learn how to tap into their power.
I assume there's no surprise from you, speaking of, to see Arkansas making the trip up to Omaha this week.
Well, I think you could answer your own question there, Connor. You saw those guys firsthand. We were a little bit closer because we were in the dugout, but I'm sure all those 97 and 98 mile an hour fastballs looked just as hard from up in the press box as they did from the dugout. That's as impressive a team as I've seen in a long time. And obviously we played Tennessee last year 3 times and saw how good they were. And I would match up this year's Arkansas team every bit with that team. And it seems like they may, I don't want to jinx them because I have respect for Dave, but it seems like they might be a team of destiny this year.
Yeah, they have a lot of things going for them, that's for sure. We were talking about this a little bit before, but the big news in college athletics that people have been preparing for a long time, the house settlement, the rev sharing, and all like, let's combine all that into one. The support that you've seen Creighton baseball get from the university level over the last year, and as that will continue. Could you speak to that a little bit and how that helps you, especially in the conference that you're in, where maybe not everybody has it at that level?
Well, I think Creighton wants to be good in all sports. I think that's very clear. You look at our basketball teams, you look at our volleyball team, you look at our soccer teams, on and on. I think Creighton wants to be. We may not have the most sports out there, but I think every sport we have, we want to be really good at. And so I think baseball is no different. I think we'll get support, but every coach in the country is always going to say we need more or we want more. So that being said, I think we're in a good position moving forward, but we'll always be looking for everything we can get, just because the success we had this year, we would love to be a little bit, as normal as it is for the volleyball team.
I know that you'll be at the groundbreaking event that Creighton has scheduled for Wednesday with the new practice facility and the new softball, complex goes up. I mean, it looks great. I guess how does a thing like that help? Obviously, it's a great thing for Omaha and for the College World Series to use as practice facilities and things like that. Like, how does something like that help you guys get this thing, jump started here?
Well, I've been given strict orders by Glenn Sisk, who you know very well.
Yes.
Not to divulge too much information on that until we actually go through the groundbreaking ceremony.
Okay.
But what I will say is I just think it's another step in letting recruits know and letting our players know that baseball is valued here. And as we move forward, it's going to be another chip that we can show people that, hey, Creighton baseball is for real, and here's some hard evidence of that.
No doubt. Do you want to go a little rapid fire? Like, I want people to get to know you a little bit. I have a few, I just have a few rapid fire questions for you. You going to do that?
If I can reserve the right to say no comment,
Sure.
if I don't like the question, or if I can't answer the question.
Of course. No, I don't think. Yeah, no, I think you'll be fine. All right, here we go.
All right, go for it.
Favorite NFL team?
Miami Dolphins. That was easy.
Okay. Favorite vacation destination?
Anywhere with a beach that has aqua blue water.
Okay, that's a lot of places.
You got to stay flexible.
All right, good. Ballpark food?
Well, my son and I last night went to Werner Park to watch one of my former players, Will Sanders, who was on the Iowa Cubs, and so we had the brisket sandwich, which they serve right behind home plate, and we were both pretty satisfied with it. So I'll go recency bias and say the brisket sandwich at Werner Park.
Nice. Shout out to the Omaha Storm Chasers. What do you put on your hot dog?
Ketchup.
Ketchup, only ketchup.
Only.
All right, that's going to rub some people the wrong way.
That's okay.
Okay. Best player you played with in your playing career?
Best player I played with in my playing career? Wow, that's a good question. I played against a lot of great ones, including Nomar Garcia-Pera.
That's a good one.
And shoot, a lot of great ones. Played with, man, I don't think I've ever been asked that.
We can count the Nomar
Kerry
one.
Wood.
Oh, Kerry Wood's good.
I'll say Kerry Wood I caught in spring training, and Steve Traxel I caught in a AA game for the Orlando Cubs. So those are probably, Kerry Wood's obviously a lot more glamorous than a Steve Troxel, but he was pretty darn good in his right too. So I guess we'll just go with Wood.
Those are very acceptable answers. Favorite band or artist?
Can I give you multiple?
Sure.
Favorite band, I would say, is Kiss. As crazy as that might sound, but they were my
Nice.
childhood. They were my childhood band. But then I also, Billy Joel, I would say, is my favorite artist.
Fantastic. We're on the same page on that one. And then the last one here, Creighton has excellent baseball uniforms. Your favorite Creighton baseball uniform?
Powder blue. But I think as we move forward, last night the Storm Chasers wore the light blue top with the white pants. Don't be surprised if we try to get a little more versatile and use those. Those are great uniforms, but maybe try to get even more creative with them as we move forward.
Oh yeah, excellent. That's music to people's ears. Coach, it was great to be around for the last couple of weeks. What you guys did, along with Coach Service, was absolutely fantastic for the last few weeks of the season, getting to where you ended up, and can't wait to see where things go forward. Super exciting. Welcome again to Omaha, and we'll see you at the College World Series this week.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's great to be a part of this fantastic city. So just getting started, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach. Talk to you later. That is Mark Kingston, the new baseball coach at Creighton University. Kiss. I didn't have that one on the bingo card.
Those were some good questions. The hot dog one always gets it got the discussion going on the stream.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, we have Creighton on Creighton fan crime here.
Oh yeah. Well, I just
Some are team ketchup, some are team mustard.
Yeah,
it gets heated.
I don't. I am not with the mustard one.
Yeah.
Or I'm not with the ketchup one.
Yeah,
That's for
mustard
sure.
and relish. Now I prefer dill relish, but that's a personal preference. But you can't go wrong with either or.
Yeah, the ketchup only. I mean, we'll have some conversations about that one. We'll get that figured out. But sometimes,
But that brisket
you
sandwich,
like what you like.
That sounds like a damn winner.
Oh, hey, that's legit. Right behind home plate at Werner Park. Yeah, that's big time stuff. I would definitely go check that out. All right, thanks to Coach for joining us for a couple minutes today, and
I like him.
Excited to see what that's going to be here in the not so distant future. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. More of the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Jimmy Chavez with you today. As Josh will be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's just call it that. Let's just call it what it is. He's not coming back.
It's like
today.
that Friday night at the Chuck during the Big Ten tournament. Well, maybe they'll play. Maybe they'll play.
Sure, they'll start at 11.
Yeah, they won't.
Yeah, no. We're just going to call it tomorrow. At this point,
Luckily, I like my job and I enjoy hanging out with you.
Fantastic. Well, I thank you for being here today, Jimmy. Getting things rolling. Sam McEwen's coming up here in just a few minutes. So we had Coach comment on uniforms there. We consider ourselves commenters on uniforms here on this show as well.
That or food.
If you're watching along with it, oh yeah, we have comments on food. So they're, like you said, Jimmy, kind of split on the whole ketchup situation in the.
I mean, it
chat
gets
there.
heated, but yeah, it really is either or.
I'm only like, I just put anything but ketchup, honestly, on my hot dog. So
yeah, same.
Coach and I butt heads a little bit on that one.
Maybe when I was about 3, we did a little ketchup just to
ketchup
try.
is for children.
Now, I've not tried the spicy ketchup because we have lots of bottles of the Whataburger spicy ketchup. So I could be open to that, but I've pretty much always been a hot dog. I mean, a mustard and relish,
whatever
kind of guy.
else. Throw
with
some
a brat,
onions
some
on
sauerkraut. Hell yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So we comment on food, we comment on uniforms. This is what we do on this show.
I like this. What he said.
So if you're watching along with this on YouTube, or if you're watching on 1620thezone.com, zonetv.live, I'm gonna put something up on your screen here. These are the new Independence Day hats, the new 4th of July hats. They are being sold now.
Today we celebrate Bill Pullman.
New era. Yeah, those kind. So some of them have red bills, some of them have blue bills, I guess, depending on, I don't know what it depends on, but I'm looking at all the teams here. Like the Angels one has a red bill. I'm displaying right now on YouTube the Royals cap for this year. The kind of powder blue base with the blue bill and then the stars and stripes inside of the team logo. But
I used to think of Kmart as a kid.
There is one more key item here. It kind of looks like an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Something,
Icy?
Maybe
that's why I thought Kmart.
Exactly. They had the ices at Kmart for sure. So yes, we'll call these the icy hats, which I haven't had an icy in a long. Does that company still exist?
I'm sure it's ruined also. It's gone. And,
right.
I'm going to say about 30 years since
they
I've
started
had an
making the icy like freezy pops. Did you ever have those?
I believe so.
Those were incredible.
Yeah, those were pretty good.
The push pops.
I remember when they introduced the Coke flavored icy. That was a big technological breakthrough in the late 80s.
That's where it hit the end of the line for me. I was like, I don't think I want a frozen Coca-Cola. But anyway.
But yes, the hats.
Here's the hats.
They're nifty.
But there is one key item that I have not described to you. If you're not watching along with this on YouTube and you're just listening on the radio, the ropes.
Yeah.
The rope hat
Team Rope
has hit Major League Baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Now you seem like you're very supportive of this idea.
Oh no, I'm kind of neutral on this here, but that is the first thing I noticed. This is what they're going to wear. And if that's what they're going to wear, yeah, the rope has made it to Major League Baseball. And this could be one of the greatest things to hit baseball since the Astros scandal, the see-through pants with Nike.
So here's the thing. When they do these hats for whether it's like Memorial Day or Mother's Day or the 4th of July or Father's Day, whatever it is, these are for 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
You look like, if you look back at the hats from like 2017 or something like that, you'll say, oh, wow, like that hat looks like it was made in 2017. I like what they did here to a certain extent. I dislike what they did here to a certain extent, but it was very 2017.
Right. Or pre-pandemic, simpler times. We breathed on each other.
So here we are in 2025, and sure, the hat is what the hat is, but the rope on the hat, on the top of the bill, will assuredly tell us that this hat was made in 2025 or 1985, whichever one. Because
that was a good year for the Royals.
It was a great year for the Royals. Now they're doing only reunions from 1985 and 2015.
Shout out Buddy Biancalana.
Championship teams, exactly. But this assures the fact that this will be very 2025. I'm wondering when the ropes on the hats will go away, or when the fad will die off.
I would say before the Olympics.
It doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that might cut it close. I'm going to go sometime in 2027.
Yeah.
And the next thing will come. Maybe like a damn pinwheel on top of
Well, we had I was wondering if they were going to do the upside down letters on the hats.
Ooh, that's big too. Kids like that.
But I know people have very, very specific opinions on the ropes on the hats or on the upside down letters. I've stayed consistent on this. I really don't mind the rope on the hat. I think it happens too much for like it's very pervasive right now. Like we're probably oversaturated with the rope hats.
Probably shouldn't jump on board because it's too heavy on that bandwagon. It'll sink.
So I'm not like, I can't say that I'm definitively like pro or definitively anti.
That's kind of where I'm at.
But it's happening a lot.
But I'm here for the arguments.
I wanted to bring this to you guys' attention. Just if you were very anti rope hat or if you were very pro rope hat, here's what they're going to look like. And by the way, note that price as well for the new
That's
era
the
hats.
other thing I noticed.
$47.99.
$50 for a hat.
So you could probably tell how old a person is by what an MLB hat cost when they were like growing up.
Ooh, like that.
I always thought they were $25. They should have been they were $25. And then at some point they hit 30. And then for like the last 10 to 15 years, they were 40. They've been 40. So now I guess we're going up to $47.99.
First one I bought was at the Astrodome. So that dates me in the 90s. But
how much did it cost?
It was $24.99. I thought Dad was going to be like, no, you have hats at home.
$25. That's what it should be. Because that's what I'm used to. Now the kids these days are like, oh yeah, it's 45. There's nothing wrong with that.
Buy two of them. It's not my money.
It's $45.
Money grows on tree.
All right, that's what you could expect on Major League Diamonds on the 4th of July. We'll be right back. Sam McEwen, fresh off a hole-in-one, joins us on 1620 The Zone. All right, and we're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline by Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Sam, thanks for joining. What's up?
Hello. I'm not much is up. Beautiful day. CWS is almost here.
Sam, I did not know that you played golf, to be honest with
do.
you. And so I was like, this is amazing. When you tweeted out this morning that you hit a hole in one, whenever, what was it, yesterday, or did you play already today?
Yesterday.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
How often do you play golf?
When I can. It's a
Right.
busy life. So I played more when I was a kid. And when I was a young adult than I do now. I'll try to play with my son. Sammy is 12, and so we're kind of able to go out. So it's not like I don't know, probably 6-7 times this summer. When I was a kid, I worked at Indian Creek and Shadow Ridge, and so I was able to play much more often.
So
I love the sport. Yeah,
it's. I mean, like every summer, a few times I see people talk about the hole that you hit a hole in one on, the Crofton Lakeview with the steep incline hole. I mean, that's like the one to get it on, and if you were going to do it, which I mean, so once again, amazing stuff.
Yeah. So I posted this on Twitter, right? And
Yes.
The first photo I took was just of the hole before I took the shot, because I'm like, oh, this is pretty. And we had played Tatanka the day before, which is up in northeast Nebraska too.
Beautiful.
And I lost 9 balls on that course, and so I had I was knocked around a little bit on Saturday. On Sunday, though, and I didn't know that hole was on the course, and then I see it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty, and so I took a photo, and I thought I better hit driver here because the wind was strong. So I won't say I got lucky. It was a good shot.
Did it roll up, or did it like? I guess describe it to me. What happened?
It landed about 9 to 10 feet away and rolled in.
Beautiful.
And like it was a fade. It was a driver fade. It kind of started at the right side of the green, and it came back to the middle, and it was actually the best shot of my life. It just the funny part of it is that it was with a driver on a par 3, right. And so people are like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Well, like,
it doesn't matter. You play the situation. You play the situation that you are dealt. That's it."
Right. And the situation was the wind was howling, and there you go. So like, I was quite proud of my club selection. I watched some of my friends, and they came up a little short with their irons, and they were long irons. They weren't like, it's 175 yards. So, people were using 4s and 5s. And like, I certainly can't hit my 3-wood or my 5-wood very well. So then, I went with the club that I hit the second most often, which is my driver. So
doesn't matter. Whatever gets the job done, Sam. Whatever gets the job done. That's all I say.
Yep.
What do you think about the field we have so far for the College World Series?
I like it. I like it. I think it's going to be kind of wide open. On the one side, you've got Oregon State. They're probably the best team on that side. Louisville, Arizona, who is basically the best team in the Big 12. I know they're in the Big 12 for the first year, but don't sleep on Arizona. Coastal's a very good team. Obviously a mid-major, but they're very good this year. Wide open on that side, and Arkansas will be the prohibitive favorite on Arkansas's side. Obviously, they're going to face LSU. I think they'll match up well with LSU. And then on the top side, it's the winner of Duke Murray State. My goodness, I keep blanking on who that other team is up there, but they'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas is going to emerge. And we may well see an Arkansas versus Oregon State. UCLA is the other team.
Yes, that's right.
UCLA is a pretty good team. I mean, they haven't really struggled yet. They do pitch the hell out of it, so UCLA can beat somebody. But I do think Arkansas will emerge, and then on the other side, honestly, any of the 4 could make it. And people will say Oregon State because that's the name, but I would not bank on that. I think Arizona is going to make it hard on everybody. So it's going to be wide open on the other side. So it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good field.
You are also a lover of the NBA playoffs. We bond over this every year. We talk about the NBA playoffs, and they have been really, really good this year, even though people crave the stars and the big markets and whatever it might be in the finals. And maybe we won't get a great all-time finals here, but we had a great game one. I mean, like this has been undoubtedly a good year for the NBA playoffs, right?
Great year for the NBA playoffs for sure. Yep, there's been close games all throughout, wild comebacks. You know, the NBA fan base at this point has gotten to the point where like everybody left just kind of likes the NBA and they don't really care that much who's playing in the finals. And that's fine by me. Like, I think, yes, there are people who would like to see the Lakers there. I'm personally glad the Lakers aren't there. That would draw in more fans, but I don't need them to be in it to enjoy it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's been a great playoff so far. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton has emerged as a star. He's from, Wisconsin. He played at Iowa State. Doesn't have the classic, whatever you want to call it, path to superstardom, and yet here he is. And then Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the same thing. He's not a classic path to. Well, I guess he played at Kentucky, but he doesn't have this.
No, nobody thought he was going to be an MVP. Yeah.
All right, he didn't. He was traded to OKC, so it's an emerging league again. That it's got to find its identity a little bit, and it's probably going to be with these young stars, and they're going to have to build it from the ground up because they don't necessarily have that. They don't have a LeBron, and I know a lot of people don't like LeBron, right? But I'm old enough to remember Michael Jordan, and there were a lot of people that didn't like him, even though they had no reason to. Like, some people love him, some people don't. It's the same with LeBron. Well, you need another guy like that in the league who is the guy that everybody kind of loves or roots against because he doesn't play for their team or whatever. And so the league is waiting for that player. It's not going to be Wemby, I don't think. I think he's hard to root against. So it's hard to say who that player is going to be. But we'll see. That person will emerge. It may be Tyrese Halliburton for all we know.
Yeah. Sam McKeown from the Omaha World Herald is with us. Okay, so in college sports, the big news, of course, Friday night with the House settlement coming through. I mean, everybody's been preparing for this for a very, very long time now. That would of course include a place like Nebraska. As you kind of sort through all of this, what is this sort of? What's the first thing that a school like Nebraska or Nebraska in particular has to sort of deal with as this now becomes official and we move into this next era starting in less than a month?
They're prepared, and so they already have a pretty good idea of how they want to divvy up the money, and they've already talked to the coaches. I think what every school is now doing is waiting for the inevitable, well, this person's going to sue on this issue and this person's going to sue on that issue and what the courts say. And so I think that's going to be the larger conversation. At this moment, I think the question mark that's still sort of lingering out there is, okay, there's going to be this NIL clearinghouse. And I'm just telling you, the schools want the clearinghouse to work.
Yeah.
They want it to work. And there's people who are very online who are reading the stories that are coming out and with anonymous sources saying, this is all gonna, this is not stop, it's unstoppable, and all this money is gonna still flood into the sport. And mostly those people are people with an interest in money flowing into the sport. The schools don't want it. The schools would not have agreed to revenue sharing at this degree if they didn't want the revenue sharing to serve as the pay-for-play thing that the NIL is currently serving as. So that's the big question, is whether the clearinghouse is going to work. There's this presumption that schools are going to sue, and they're not. I don't think that's going to happen. I think a high school athlete might do that, but I don't think the schools are going to be like renegade schools. If they're going to be renegade, they're just going to pay the kids under the table. They don't need to go through the rigmarole of an NIL deal. give them money, which is against the NCAA rules as well. But I mean, at least it's not a bureaucratic nightmare. And so, we'll see. I think that's the adjustment. There's talk of Title IX. I don't anticipate that lawsuit that it violates Title IX winning. But again, this is part of what's happened in the sport, Connor. It's like over the last 4 years, you've seen a lot of media organizations kind of flood this market, and lawyers go on Twitter and try to control the conversation, and media is captured by it. Like we do. We get kind of captured by the discussion. And, like right after the thing passes on Friday night, you've got somebody from one recruiting company saying, well, the schools are going to sue. And I'm like, they're not. That's why. And then the next day you've got, we talked to 12 people in the industry. Well, that story was ready to go because there are people that don't want this to work, because if the NIL clearinghouse works, then that means the schools are back in charge. And there's a lot of people that don't really want the schools in charge. They kind of like being in charge. And, that's going to be the tug of war. I mean, if you don't need the NIL lawyers anymore, whatever will we do? And my take has always been, regardless of what happens with the clearinghouse, somewhere along the way, one lawsuit or another is going to win. And we're either going to end up at a federal law or we're going to end up with a collective bargaining agreement. Because I think the schools are committed to getting the collectives to a place where the schools are working with the collectives, and it's not the other way around. And so, I think eventually, if it comes to it, if it's this unfettered market run by rogues versus collective bargaining, they'll pick collective bargaining, because they don't want the rogue thing. And sooner or later, the rogues, so to speak, will be out. Whether it's now or it's in 3 years, I don't know.
What changes, if anything, from your perspective, happen as far as the depth of competition is concerned? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously there's so much to kind of suss through. And we've had a lot of time to sort of evaluate and kind of discuss the what ifs on this. But now that we actually get to see this function, what do you think we'll be looking at in terms of who's competitive and where in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think just about everybody in the SEC and the Big Ten can be super competitive. Maybe exceptions at Northwestern and Vanderbilt because of the way those schools are oriented. But everybody else is going to be super competitive. And then there's probably about 10 to 15 schools outside of those two leagues that are going to be able to pony up all the money necessary to be super competitive in football. I think of Clemson. I think of Notre Dame. I think of Florida State. I think of, we'll see, maybe Arizona State. You just never know. So there's going to be schools that are competitive outside that group. And then some of the others are going to struggle. I think California put something out on social media that they're going to try to distribute $6 million. And that's obviously not $15 million.
Nope. Yep.
So that's going to be challenging. But what I'll also say, and this is one of the other reasons why there are people that are pushing for the NIL thing to still be real, is once there's a cap, so once you put a cap on the revenue, Ohio State and Alabama can't have a $50 million team. They can have a $15 to $16 million team. And sooner or later, they're not going to have enough money for, let's say the 4-star who may not be, the best player at their position, but they might be the 4th best player. And that player's not going to Alabama anymore. That player's going somewhere else. Whereas Alabama used to be able to get the 1st and the 4th and the 7th and the 8th. And they'd have, it was like they had all those players. Now the 7th and the 8th and the 9th, those guys aren't often necessarily going to Alabama. And so it cuts into the depth of the power programs. And like I've said, there's a lot of people that actually don't like that. They're like, well, actually, we should turn college athletics into the EPL. And, one of these teams should be Tottenham Hotspur. And one of these teams, I mean, that's the thing that people want to do. And again, I don't think it'll work. I think there's going to be a collectivism somewhere along the way where the schools are like, you know what? If Alabama needs to win a couple fewer football games, then so be it. We're not going to turn this into Manchester United and Liverpool over here. We're just not going to do that. And, but we'll see. Collegiality will reign over, the relegation mindset, what I like to call the sort of the tech bro mindset of like winners and losers every year. Again, the EPL works and functions on that, but I don't think most leagues can, and I don't think college sports will.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be, I don't know. I get the sense that if Alabama and, Ohio State they want to pay, if they feel like they can and others can't have a 30, 40, $50 million roster. I mean, wouldn't they want to take advantage of that? I don't know.
Well, they could break away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, here's the other part of that question. At some point, how many rich people
are there
really want to keep paying money above and beyond the revenue sharing just so the football team can win? And if the schools don't want it, that means the rich people have to want it. And I'm not using rich people here as a pejorative, but let's be honest. These are really wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't random rank and file Joe Fan handing his $5 over. So if those people really want that, for how many years are they going to do it? In perpetuity? This is part of my write-off? Or at some point it just becomes, I used to be in high school debate. And we would always, in high school debate, you'd always get a joke of you'd present a policy, and then the negative team would go up there and they'd say, well, this is going to happen and this is going to happen if we enact this policy. And we'd always joke that the worst disadvantage that sooner or later you would have to enact, if we enact this healthcare plan, thermonuclear war is going to result from it. Sooner or later we'd get to that. The consequence is thermonuclear war. That's kind of how this whole debate feels. So if we have any limit on anything, the whole thing's going to collapse. It's all going to be rogue actors. Really? Is that really how it's going to work? Is it going to be international arms dealers? It just feels very, very cynical and very sort of apocalyptic, the thinking around it.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be naive. I know the worst thing a journalist can ever be is naive. But I think because I've talked to enough people, I think collegiality is going to reign over, the NIL merchants. Now I could be wrong, and we could have all the chaos that we want. But I think social media fuels some of that, and I think people sit online all day long and come and foment ideas and potential consequences. And it's entirely possible that Ohio State and Alabama will break away and form their own, 12-team league, and there you go. But I don't know. If that happens, then FCS football will get more popular. I don't think it's so easy as to just say, well, whatever the market will bear, and there can't be any constraints. And I think sooner or later we'll come to our senses, or the sport, collegiate sports, will kind of come to its collective senses and create some sort of system that binds the schools a little bit more than they are now. And that's what I think will happen. But it's also possible that this thing's going to go all the way until we literally have the EPL, which we don't even have that in the NFL, but we'll have EPL in college sports, and the 9 guys on Twitter who dream for that will be extremely happy.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm sort of cynical about this too. I
get it. I get it. Yeah.
We've reached the point now where it's so that they finally passed the House settlement, and then hours later, it's this won't change anything. It's only going to get crazier from here. And okay, that's fine. Maybe that will happen. I just know that the schools want the clearinghouse to work, and they're probably going to try to make it work versus, saying in public they want it to work and then nefariously going behind the backs of the whole thing and trying to blow it up.
Right.
That seems a little too much like a, conspiracy theory for my taste.
All right, Sam, great stuff as always. We appreciate the time. Congrats on that hole-in-one again. Don't let anybody tell you that don't. it doesn't matter what club you hit it with. It's still a hole in one.
That's right.
See you later.
Yep.
Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Good stuff on what might happen with the old NIL clearinghouse there. I think most schools probably want it to work, but if there is no guideline, then until there is, and will those schools actively, or players or agents or whatever it is, actively sue, because what they're trying to do is, or what they'll say they're trying to do is limit spending possibility or limit earnings possibility. I keep saying spending, earning possibility, which has been at the heart of this entire NCAA, explosion over the last 15 or so or whatever years here. No, the schools might not, they might want to have the clearinghouse actually work in the situation. The whole thing that says any deal that over $600 actually has to be proven, but there's other ways around it than that, than whether it's the clearinghouse existing or not existing. I think schools will find a way to still funnel money, NIL, quote unquote, NIL money to players with it passing through the clearinghouse. That'd be my guess. But that's another thing of how, another thing that we're going to have to find out as to when this all goes into effect. All right. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. just saw an ad for the Royals team store at Kauffman Stadium.
Thanks, Connor.
They have Cags jerseys in stock for their game against the Yankees tomorrow night. Or I suppose the team store is probably open on an off day as well.
As we speak.
They'll take your money whenever they get the opportunity to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised more people aren't going to buy Noah Cameron jerseys. You got to buy some Noah Cameron jerseys, everybody. Yankees and Royals. Jack Caglione's home debuts tomorrow at 6:40. Noah Cameron and Max Fried and the less mic'd up Jazz Chisholm, who will be booed relentlessly by the Royals crowd. 4 hits. Now 4 meaningless hits for Cags, but
that's
hits.
right. You said meaningless.
I mean, they were like inconsequential singles, basically, but meaningful in that he gets his batting average to go up a little bit. We don't just have to talk about the exit velocities at which the ball goes off of his bat. Jimmy, are you a tennis guy?
Connor, no.
Not surprising. Did you watch any of the tennis yesterday?
No, I did not, but I did hear of the guy who won.
Yes.
I have never heard of the guy he beat, but they tell me he's a big deal. So kudos to him.
He was number one. Sinner was number one.
Like the movies.
I was surprised to see this. I turned on, it was the only thing going at like 10:30 in the morning. Turned on my TV. I'm like, okay, we got an hour until the super regional games start.
That's how I used to watch Wimbledon back in the day.
Exactly. It's the same deal.
Like, whoa.
So I turned on, I was like, oh, this is on. And I'd heard of Alcaraz before because Alcaraz has won majors, and I never heard of this Sinner guy, Yannick Sinner.
Great name. Great name. Yeah.
And he had a great shirt too. And they were talking, and by the way, Brian Anderson didn't know he did tennis.
Yeah.
Great
Shout
job.
out San Antonio.
Well done. And Johnny Mack, he was with him for a long. They did a really good job. It was a good broadcast by TNT.
Still can't believe the Knicks fired Tibbs.
Right. Just got him on NBA topics the entire match. So Alcaraz is losing, and I'm like, man, and all they're talking about is how, it's just not really coming along for him, and he just doesn't have the energy.
Right in the headlines, there'll be no forgiveness. Sinner's going to win. Ooh, that's nice. An Nancism.
It's good. He's already lost a set, and he's about to lose a second set, and these guys are like, oh boy, he's in trouble. We might be in for a short one. And things start to kind of turn around. This is my amateur, sort of replay of the French Open final, or Roland Garros. And he's starting to get it turned around. By that time, Alcaraz, it's about 11 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, time to go watch the Super Regionals. I'm done with this.
But you can't turn away from this.
I think I have a pretty good idea of the way this is going. And then it flipped all the way, apparently, to the point where it took 5.5 hours. I couldn't believe that. After I got done watching the first set of Super Regional games,
it was still going on.
They were like, oh yeah, Alcaraz just finally did it. He won. I'm like, what? It's 2:00 in the afternoon. What in the world happened with this? So I turned it on before the baseball games, and he was just starting to get it turned around. And then I see that he won. I mean, I can't believe that you have the stamina and endurance to be able to put that thing together. And that got me on looking at the longest tennis matches. So do you remember the 3-day long, 11-hour John Isner, Nicholas Mahut at 2010 Wimbledon?
I do not. I've never heard of either one of those guys. 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, and then 70-68.
Whoa. In the fifth. You gotta break the tie somehow, right? 11 hours between those two at the in the first round of 2010 Wimbledon.
That's a lot of tennis ball.
11 hours. And then I was looking at the longest one in like Grand Slam. I was going to call them majors. I guess they call them
major tennis tournaments.
Grand Slams. John Isner was also in a 6.5 hour match against Kevin Anderson at Wimbledon in 2018. And then the 04 French Open with a couple of other guys who are both not American. 6.5 hours in that one. I can't believe the endurance to be even play tennis for like a point.
It looks very
a game,
strenuous.
a set. It doesn't make any sense to me. 6.5 hours,
You win
5.5 hours. It really doesn't make any sense.
15 love out. We're good here. Good
Right.
match.
Seriously, that was hard. That was impossible.
Same time next week.
Jimmy, any thoughts before we get to the polls and we tell you what to watch? Any thoughts on the NBA getting bullied into putting the Larry O'Brien Trophy graphics on?
But then it was a half-ass digital deal, and I said earlier this morning, way back when I was here the first time.
That was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
it was a long time ago.
It was like 6 hours. I mean,
yeah.
6+ hours ago.
Luckily, it's very comfortable in the studio today. You can't always say that in the summer. Then again, we've had no summer yet. That's coming because it'll time out perfectly with the baseball.
Wait till tomorrow.
Yes, back to the topic at hand, though. As someone who's been to many NBA Finals games in their lives, there was something to be said when you walked in and you saw the Finals decals on the court. You had Finals crap all over the arena, or Alamo Dome in this case, the first time. It was just everywhere. It was on the jerseys. It was everything.
Yep.
Today, you just walk in. Now, mind you, yes, they put it on last night. It looked like someone just took a crayon and be like, hey, Peppa Pig draws a trophy on the floor. Oink. And you look at it and you're not even trying.
Well, there's way more YouTube TV than there is any sort of demarcation that the NBA Finals are happening. I don't need them to do anything crazy. I don't need the giant.
Someone had something on the old Twitter earlier that was perfect. You put the Finals logo down in the low post there by the baseline in the box.
Right.
And then you have a silhouette of a trophy in the middle, not quite like the complete gold that they had 20 years ago, but
so they were doing it like over midcourt. They were basically like recreating the individual team logos and putting
in this
Larry
case,
trophy
it would just be a subtle in the background.
Yeah, see, I don't need that. All I need is just the low.
Make it seem like it's a big deal.
The script, the Finals, right in the middle of the court there. On the low sideline.
Show me the starting lineups as they happen. Make me feel like I'm going to an important basketball game. I'll be honest, Connor, I watched until the first media timeout and realized I'd rather watch grass grow, but instead I opted for LSU baseball.
Yeah, you didn't need to watch
and I didn't miss anything. They got up by 20 and they stayed up by 20.
And the broadcast crew leaves
was
something
awful.
to be desired.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
As someone who used to do that, it's like, I can't listen to this. This is terrible.
People like this. People want to get into this, and we're excited about Tyrese Halliburton. Like, it's a good story. Like, we have a 1-1 Finals right now, but the NBA is not helping us feel like it's a big deal.
Yeah,
they're not helping us along in that idea.
Like, hey, here's your trophy. It's just a certificate. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations. You won the Finals. I guess we'll do it again next year.
Kohl's.
Maybe LeBron will be in it next year.
Oh, they only hope.
That's the vibe I get from this thing. It's like, well, there's no big players in it, so why would we care? We get the MVP.
Come on. There's two great young players to get to know. There's many young players to get to know. There's stories, Connor. There are lots of stories. Unfortunately, we'll never hear any of them.
No, we'll just hear about what Giannis is doing this summer or something like that. Mm-hmm. All right, quick timeout. We'll get to the polls. We'll tell you what to watch on the other side on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Final segment here on a Monday. Thanks to Jimmy Chavez for hanging out today.
Yeah, it goes by fast.
It's just zipping right through a Monday show. Only 3 more left before we all go our separate ways for several days in a row with the College World Series. One more College World Series game, or one more Super Regional game, rather, tonight. And we'll tell you about that and what to watch here in just a second. One poll question first. Have you ever had to worry about a hammerhead shark falling from the sky while out playing disc golf?
A good question.
We didn't get the other one up. I can't remember what it was, but I have not. So I'll vote no here. Only 75% say no. Sort of a staggeringly low number. Can't imagine that 25% of you have had to worry about this, but you never know what you're going to get in the poll
Hey,
questions.
people worry about a lot of things. I worry every time I get behind the wheel.
Here's what we're watching tonight. Game number 3 in the Stanley Cup Finals. The series shifts to Florida, Edmonton, and Florida, 7 o'clock TNT. With that series tied at a game apiece. This is all made by Josh Hodson, by the way.
Mhm.
In Major League Baseball, 2 national games tonight. The Marlins and the Pirates
Ooh,
are on national television.
NLCS preview.
Not this year. 5:40 on FS1. Maybe the NLCS preview for like 2032 or something like that.
Could that be Kevin? That might be a Kevin game.
It could be
on a Monday night.
It could be Kugler. I don't know. And then it's always America's team. The Arizona Diamondbacks host the Seattle Mariners at 8:40 on FS1. College baseball, Super Regionals, third and final game to decide the 8th and final team into the College World Series, Murray State and Duke. 6 o'clock on ESPN. Tonight is the 2025 BET Awards.
Oh,
7 o'clock on BET, featuring Mariah Carey, Snoop Dogg, Kirk Franklin, Lil Wayne, who just released a new terrible album, Tiana Taylor, Glorilla, Playboy Cardi, Leon Thomas perform, and Kevin Hart hosts. Jimmy, any interest?
you know what? I think it's going to be a 2 TV night down in the living room
Fantastic. Just
because
like,
we also got MLB Beginning on MLB
That's right.
Network, and that is my favorite TV show.
it's just like the first Thursday of March Madness for
Mhm.
you tonight, I
Mhm.
think. And finally tonight, once again, this is all Josh Hodson, 8 o'clock on TLC, Virgins. The docuseries follows 4 adults who have yet to experience sexual intercourse as they navigate love, intimacy, and self-discovery in their 30s and 40s.
We need an overreaction show for that.
Yeah.
We you know what?
Coming up-
There needs to be a conversation with you and Josh on tomorrow's show to kind of break that one down. Because then we are going to go our separate ways. So that's gold, right?
Yeah, we'll probably have to do
Damn it,
something
Connor.
about
I'm going to
that.
need a third TV.
Or you could listen to Jimmy and Matt like 6:10 tomorrow morning, you know?
Some Matt needs to know about these shows.
The full-on reaction show. All right, once again, Jimmy, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Connor.
Thanks
That
to
was fun.
all of our esteemed guests today. That is it for us. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. The crossover featuring Mike Schaefer is next.